Duesseldorf. You probably think you have it figured out, right? A city all about high finance, high fashion, and super sleek modern buildings. Well, today we're going to tear up the typical travel guide. We're going to get into the city's real character, a place that is just full of these amazing contradictions. So let's dive in and see what Düsseldorf is really all about.
And this, right here, is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. On one side, you have the slick, polished perfection of the Königsallee, which is Germany's top luxury shopping street. And on the other, you've got the raw, explosive creativity of Kiefernstrasse's street art. These two completely different worlds, they don't just happen to be in the same city. No, they really define Düsseldorf. So first up, let's talk about the image the city shows to the world. This wealthy, sophisticated hub for business and cutting-edge design. This is the Düsseldorf you see on all the postcards. At the very heart of this image is the Königsallee, or just the Co, if you want to sound like a local. It's where you'll find pretty much every luxury brand you can think of. But here's the thing, it's not just for people with money to burn. The real magic is grabbing a coffee at one of the sidewalk cafes and just people watching. It's literally a live-action fashion show, and you've got the best seat in the house. And this ambition to be on the cutting edge, it's perfectly captured in the MedienHafen. This whole area used to be a really gritty industrial port, but now it's a total showcase for stark architects like the famous Franco Gehry. I mean, look at these three towers. They're all warped and swaying without a single straight line anywhere. They completely changed the city's skyline and really put Düsseldorf on the global map for architecture. But, that polished, shiny exterior is really only half the story. If you want to truly understand Düsseldorf, you gotta taste it. So now we're going beyond the fancy restaurants to find the city's actual, authentic soul. And that taste, it absolutely starts with Altbier. It literally means old beer, and it's this dark, copper-colored ale that's brewed using these super traditional methods. You could totally say Düsseldorf was doing craft beer way, way before it was trendy. It's the city's signature drink, and you just have to try it. Now, ordering that Altbier is an experience all by itself, thanks to this one-of-a-kind local character, the Kobus. He's not just a waiter, he's more like a local institution. The Kobus is known for being super direct, maybe even a little grumpy, but trust me, it's all part of the charm. So, here's the key thing to remember. Do not take it personally. His job is simply to keep your glass full of beer. In fact, the Kobus will just keep bringing you fresh alt beer without you even asking for it. The only way you can stop the endless flow of beer is to put your beer mat, your coaster, on top of your empty glass. That's the signal that you're tapping out. Okay, from traditional German beer, let's do a complete 180 and talk about another one of the city's really unique flavors. Welcome to Little Tokyo. You might not know this, but Düsseldorf has the largest Japanese community in all of Germany, and this neighborhood, right around Immermannstrasse, is its quiet, understated heart. What makes Little Tokyo so incredibly special is that it was never built to be a tourist trap. It grew organically, out of necessity for the community that lives there. This is where you'll find some of the most authentic ramen in all of Europe, supermarkets packed with Japanese groceries. The whole vibe just feels genuine, precisely because it's for the people who actually call this place home. And if you want a taste of, well, everything, you go to Karlsplatz. This market is the true beating heart of the city. It's this fantastic, chaotic mix, where you've got traditional butchers who've been there for generations, right next to modern street food stalls, amazing bakeries, and trendy little wine bars. It's just a feast for all the senses. Okay, so this whole theme of contrast just keeps going, and it's super strong in a city's art scene. Düsseldorf has this really fascinating relationship with art that stretches from the most elite, high-end galleries all the way down to the very pavement you walk on. Let's start at the absolute top. This number, 3.1 million euros. That's what a single photograph, Rhine 2, sold for at auction. It was by Andreas Gursky, an artist from the world-famous Düsseldorf School of Photography. This represents the absolute peak of the city's high art world. And then there's this. No fancy pedestal, no glass case, nothing. This sculpture, it's called Die Auseinandersetzung, which means the dispute, and it's just right there at street level. It's meant to represent the generational conflict of the 60s and 70s, and it actually invites you to physically step in between the two figures. It's art for everyone, a complete world away from that multi-million-euro auction house. This double-sided personality isn't just in the art or the food, it's literally woven into the fabric of the city's neighborhoods. Each district has its own vibe, its own completely distinct personality. So let's compare two really key districts. You've got the Altstadt, the Old Town, that historic heart with its ancient churches and those famous brewery inns. And then you have Flingern, the city's creative engine, which is all about indie fashion, incredible street art, and a constant battle to keep its edgy character alive. Now, the Altstadt is famous for being the longest bar in the world. But if you just step off the main party street, you can find these quiet little corners that take you right back to its origins as a humble fishing village. Especially around the St. Lambertus Church, with that crazy twisted spire, you can really feel the deep history of the city. Okay, now let's jump over to Flingern. This neighborhood became a total magnet for artists and students because the rent used to be so cheap. And that creative spirit is still very much alive today. It's a place full of indie designers, little art galleries, and workshops that are just tucked away in backyards. It's where you go to find something totally unique, something with a real story. The absolute soul of Flingern is perfectly captured on this one street, Kiefernstrasse. Back in the 80s, squatters moved into these houses and just covered them in art. What used to be considered a no-go zone is now one of the city's top cultural attractions. It's like a living, breathing, open-air gallery and a huge symbol of that alternative culture. Okay, so we've seen all the contrasts. So how do you put it all together? How do you experience the city like somebody who actually lives there? This is your insider's guide to the simple, authentic joys of Düsseldorf. So here are the key takeaways. The locals will always tell you to skip the tourist-packed Bolkerstrasse and go to Radingerstrasse instead for a way more authentic pub crawl. Instead of a fancy bar, grab a beer at a kiosk by the river. Forget the tour buses, just run a bike. Seriously, it's these little choices that make all the difference. And let's talk about that kiosk for a second. This is the Fortuna Bucin. It started out as just a simple meeting spot for soccer fans on their way to a game. But now it's this beloved social hub where you see a real cross-section of the entire city. Everyone just gathers to have a cold drink, a good chat, and watch a perfect sunset over the Rhine. You know, one of the most cherished local experiences costs absolutely nothing. This is the Rheinwiesen, these huge green meadows that stretch along the Rhine. It's basically the city's shared backyard. People come here to have a picnic, play some games, fly kites, or just to sit and watch the river flow. And here's a fun fact. The city actually uses flocks of sheep as natural, eco-friendly lawnmowers here. How cool is that? So yeah, that's Düsseldorf, a city of luxury and of grit, of millionaire art and public sculptures for everyone, of ancient beer traditions and authentic Japanese ramen. It's a place that just refuses to be put in a simple box. So, forget everything the postcard tells you. The real question is, beyond the postcard, what Düsseldorf will you discover?